New York City's Rikers Island has long had a reputation as one of the roughest, toughest, meanest jails in America. And in 1990 and 91, it lived up to that reputation with a riot, more than 2,000 inmate slashings and stabbings, and 8 inmate homicides. Since this report first aired last December, New York City has appointed a new corrections commissioner who takes over at a time when things have been relatively quiet on Rikers Island. But relative quiet at this jail still means about 50 inmate slashings and stabbings a month. To listen to the inmates, you'll hear that Rikers is more dangerous than the street. And to hear the officers tell it, Rikers makes running a maximum security prison look easy. Just across the river from Manhattan, next to LaGuardia Airport, is Rikers Island. Actually, it's a complex of 9 separate jails that house 15,000 inmates. And remember, this is jail, not prison. Which means that while some inmates serve brief terms here, most are just awaiting trial and cannot make bail. New prisoners arrive daily, and 1,000 go back and forth to court each day. With an average stay of just 2 months, about 100,000 inmates pass through Rikers each year. But the constant turnover makes this place hard to run. Inmates enter Rikers through this receiving room.
This is my jail. You don't come here around. Listen, you guys cut the bullshit. Right here. Cut it out. You guys play around with somebody, I'm going to be on you. I'll be on you.
Veteran officers Mike Melendez and John Reyes lay down the law.
Robinson, you got court date today.
I don't want you guys playing around with these guys. Leave these guys alone. You guys mess around, I'm going to mess around.
Williams Morales.
When officers assign beds, they try to group inmates so that an accused shoplifter won't end up next to a murderer.
Roberto Romano.
But Rikers is so overcrowded, just finding a bed for an inmate can be a problem.
There's no room. There's actually no room. Right now, we got 40 inmates, and we have 1 bed in this institution.
40 inmates, 1 bed?
1 bed.
So where do they sleep?
You're looking at them, Mike.
You mean sitting on the benches, on the floors?
There it is.
It used to be worse. Inmates slept in bullpens for up to a week until a judge ordered the city to pay prisoners $150 if they didn't get a bed within 24 hours.
Let's get your stuff.
$150 if they don't get a bed in 24 hours?
So our next, another $100 for every 12 hours that it exceeds the 24.
They could wind up making more money than you make, John.
They can wind up getting out of here on bail. By us.
All right, these guys are on their way to where?
X-rays. They're coming back from another jail that had X-rays taken.
So they get pretty good health care.
Free medical, free dental. They don't pay for anything. 3 hots and a cot.
Remember, most of these men are awaiting trial. They're innocent until proven guilty in a city that gives its jail population a lot of rights. So they wear their own clothes and keep stockpiles of fancy footwear. Even jewelry is allowed. Inmates are entitled to a 6-minute daily telephone call out, but they talk longer and fights over who uses the phones are common. An inmate can even bring a Walkman from home. At meals, inmates choose Muslim, kosher, or regular. And they get daily trips to well-stocked law libraries. And all this leaves officers with an attitude. They say inmates get better treatment than they do.
Hey, man, look, don't spit. All right?
Officers also say these rights breed violence.
So why don't you turn it in? Turn it into property, it'll be safe there, and you won't have any hassles with any other inmates.
The problem is this watch. Officers Melendez and Reyes want it put in storage, but the inmate insists on keeping it.
Why you want a chance getting hurt in here? Over a watch or a chain? Is it worth it?
At least if it gets lost here, you're insured for it. We'll take care of it.
These officers have seen new arrivals get stabbed for less.
Let's go, come on.
And this is what happens when there's a stabbing.
It's a 5x5, bro.
In one 10-hour stretch, we watch this emergency response team gear up 6 times. It's the only time officers can carry weapons. Last year, there were more than 2,500 violent incidents at Rikers. Blood is a common sight. This inmate was cut in the eye and stabbed in the back while being robbed of his jewelry.
22, 23!
After any violent attack, officers search the cells for weapons. In this case, they find 4 makeshift knives called shanks. We were told almost every inmate has one.
They have plenty of weapons. They make weapons.
You mean those are the shanks?
I mean, we have shanks that'll a foot.
Reyes even told me today's inmates don't hesitate to use these weapons on officers. No man is going to beat up a correction officer because he knows what the dickens is going to happen to him if he...
Back in the days, it used to be like that.
Yeah.
In the old days. Now, they'll cut an officer just as fast as they'll cut an inmate.
You ever afraid in here? Honest.
Every day.
And Reyes' fear comes from personal experience. Last year, when a Muslim gang sought revenge against a rival, Reyes raced down this hallway with an emergency response team.
We turned that corner, all you saw was blood. Officer's blood. When I got to here, I turned around. There was nobody with me. I was in the middle of the confrontation. When they came behind me, one guy stabbed me in the eye.
Stabbed you what?
Stabbed me in the eye here. I caught 3 stitches under the eye. I hit the floor. I got stabbed in the head. I caught 6 stitches there. As I went to the ground, another inmate came behind me, struck me twice with a nice pick in my lung. I carry this to remind me of the incident, okay? That was me in the clinic.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Even after a brutal attack like this, officers have to follow a strict use of force policy. They can use force to stop violence, but never to retaliate. That's the rule.
But not that day, because officers took care of those that hurt the officer.
What do you mean?
They took care of business. Yeah.
Tough racket. And part of the racket for Officer John Manning is being ready to fight. Manning says he once wanted to help inmates, but like Officer Reyes, he too got slashed in the face, and his attitude changed.
I had a liberal view at one point of thinking that, you know, they're all God's children. But until it happens to you, until they attack you personally, then your view changes.
They aren't quite all God's children anymore.
Definitely not.
Manning works in punitive segregation, the jail within the jail. When inmates stab other prisoners or attack officers, they end up here, locked down 21 hours a day. Whenever they go out, they're strip searched. Inmates call it harassment. Manning calls it necessary. When you search guys, you pull their cheeks back. Why?
To see if they have any razors in their mouth. Usually with...
Wait a minute. Razors?
Razors. Double-edged or single-edged razors.
Which they hide in here?
Hide in their cheek area, yes, in their mouth. And
so you make them really...
Pull it open so that you can look inside and see whether or not it's in there.
Manning also says inmates hide weapons, believe it or not, up their backsides.
Matter of fact, he had one inmate. He had a 7-inch, 8-inch knife.
It was up his tail?
Up his rectum area. And the only way that it was found is through an x-ray.
Prisoners in punitive segregation are tightly controlled and watched. But most others are not, and especially those in dormitories. Brian Supernant, known as Soup, is an 8-year veteran officer. He is alone and unarmed with 50 inmates. He says the idleness in here breeds violence, and when it explodes, Soup's in the middle. What he's supposed to do is trigger his personal body alarm and then wait for that emergency team to rush to his side down this long hallway, and then this one. But there's a problem. You haven't got a gun, you haven't got a club, you got nothing except...
I haven't got a body alarm.
You haven't got a body alarm? What if somebody takes a whack at you?
Well, the way things are supposed to be and the way things are, unfortunately... in the system these days aren't the exact same thing.
Hey, look at the monitor that watches these hallways. Officers don't rely on this equipment. Veterans like Soup rely on their intuition, their savvy, when there's an incident.
Flipping, man. Seeing things, talking to myself the whole night.
We gotta find your bed somewhere.
I want to get off this island. I want to get out this building, period. I'm supposed to have been out of here a long time ago.
Soup tries to calm an inmate with something they call IPC, interpersonal communication.
Let me put the paperwork in, all right? I'll give it to the captain when he makes his tour. I'll let the captain know that you want to go see the psych.
But 1 out of 3 officers here are rookies. And listen to what Soup would have done as a rookie in this situation.
I probably would have told him, listen, you're in jail, that's the deal, okay? You want to go in, you could walk in, or you can be made to go in, okay? And I'm not talking no IPC at the time.
There is another reality at Rikers. Inmates call them their house leaders. Guys like Tony Vasquez tell other inmates what they can and cannot do. They pay him for protection and for favors. The sneakers and the jewelry are symbols of his power. What do you do with all this gold? Look at this. 4 rings, gold. How come you get to wear all this jewelry?
That's entirely up to the correctional facility. If they don't want me to wear it, I'll send it home kindly. There's no problem with that. But as long as I can wear it, I want to live the way I want to live.
With an inmate like that, what we have to do is try to bring him down a peg or two in the other inmates' eyes.
How do you do that?
Talk to him a little more than everybody else. They're going to start to think, well, maybe he's telling the officer something that he shouldn't be.
What would happen if another guy came in here and said, and he's tougher than you, and he says, I'm going to run this house?
It's going to be a little battle, I guess.
Who's going to battle?
I guess me and him, because I don't let no one take nothing from me.
And the battle takes place, what, fists? You got a weapon?
No, I don't.
Anthony. Everybody's got a weapon. What kind of a weapon you got?
I don't have a weapon.
I'm not going to search you, and I'm not going to...
I'll take the Fifth Amendment on that one.
Have you ever hit an officer?
No.
Would you ever hit an officer?
No, I'm not that dumb.
Why? What happens to an inmate who hits an officer?
They'll come get him, drag him into a bullpen, and he'll get the beating of his life.
They'll get him. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fellas, line up the child. Last call.
Rikers has all the problems of New York City streets, only worse. This corner of Rikers is packed with inmates who would have been in state mental hospitals 20 years ago. Now they are here awaiting trial.
At the bottom of the pit in society, criminals. The guys that I get, they are like outcasts.
The mental ward is Officer Ronnie Campbell's specialty.
Every cup and spoon he gives him, he gets rid of it. So that's what he used for a cup, and he uses his hands for food, for food.
Is it as dangerous for you in here as it is for some of the other officers out with the general population?
It is, because these guys here can go off their rocker at any given moment without a warning.
In fact, earlier this year, one mental ward inmate smashed another over the head with a chair and killed him. And Campbell himself just recovered from a leg bite.
For real, man. You gotta take a bath because you smell bad.
He is a counselor, a nurse, and a master of the fine art of bribery. For some inmates won't take care of their most basic needs without a push. This time, Campbell trades a cigarette for a shower.
Dad, I got the cigarette right here. You see it, right? You don't do a good job, you don't get the cigarette. You ain't gotta hurry up. You got a lot of time. Take your time. Very good, very good. Excellent. Pick him up.
Campbell says that inmates on his cell block sometimes stay here for years, locked away, waiting to be found fit for trial. Meantime, New York City plans to stuff yet 1,000 more inmates into this overcrowded island at the end of LaGuardia's runways. Rikers Island. It is a scary, violent, lonesome place.